Hey everyone, it's Mithrilda. Welcome back to my journey of learning how to draw. Today we're going to take a look at another art tutorial from Gumroad. Basically, Gumroad is a marketplace where people sell pretty much anything, usually digital goods. Where I learned about it was from people selling their old Patreon packs, but a lot of people also sell tutorials and educational resources. So I'm going to be looking at some more drawing lessons / tutorials. Today's lesson / tutorial is going to come from CosmicSpectrum. I found her profile when I was scrolling through looking for cool Inktober posts last month. I think her style is just so cool and iconic, and I can spot it every time I see it in my timeline. After looking through everything on her timeline, my eye shot straight toward that tutorials / shop / books link, and that's where I discovered she has a Gumroad store. And I was so excited. This basically inspired me to make this whole series in the first place. The only reason I didn't start on this shop was because Aja from last episode was offering a flash sale, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna make this video series anyways, might as well save some money while I'm at it. Anyways, this is what I've been waiting for, and I'm so excited to explore these tutorials. What really called out to me is the fact that all these are labeled as character fundamentals, and I'm down for fundamentals because I'm still a beginner, I'm still learning, and this is where I need to start. And also, my eye went straight toward that bundle because it seems to have a lot of goodies in there, and it says it's 25% off, which I am in love with. So basically, it includes the facial expressions, gesture drawing, hand construction, hair construction, head and face construction, which all sound great. That's stuff I want to learn. So basically, everything in the store except for the legs and feet. If I have good experiences with the big pack, I would totally come back and buy these last two. So looking closer at one of these, it seems like in this tutorial I offer a variety of tips and approaches to drawing hair, including a detailed step-by-step tutorial and smaller step-by-step sections. My tutorials are designed for both beginners and intermediate artists and are aimed to teach the basic knowledge required to draw / design characters quickly and without reliance on references. Well, that sounds good, and that sounds just like me. Oh, I'm so pumped just thinking about getting my hands on this. No programs are required. These tips can be applied to both traditional and digital artwork. This tutorial pack includes the following: a 9-page PDF tutorial with in-depth approach to drawing and constructing hair, and a 24-minute demonstration video. Sounds great. So let's look at this hands one. I'm interested in hands. Okay, so beginners and intermediate artists is another 9-page PDF tutorial, a demo video, and a high-res JPEG of the demo sheet. Alright, let's get into it and see how this goes. This is a lot of material, it looks like, so I might split this up into several different episodes just so I have enough time to, absorb the material, practice, because, that's the most important part about any learning material. And I'll get back to you guys. Alrighty, so it looks like I receive everything in one giant zip file, which I will now download and unzip. Alright, so here it is. It looks like it's a lot of stuff. There are PDFs for each of the tutorials, there's video demonstrations, and this looks like a folder just full of pages from a pose book, that you use as reference for gesture drawings and stuff, which is awesome. And there's also this cute thank you note picture. Opening the PDFs up, they look really cool. I only took a quick glance through them, but they seem to be really densely packed with information, and I'm really looking forward to digging into this. Alright, let's get started. So it turns out that I'm definitely going to be splitting this review into 2 parts because there's just so much substance in them. And it doesn't help that I got a pack with 5 different lessons that could probably take a week each to really get into. So let's just get right into things. I wanted to have some systematic way to get into things, so I actually studied the lessons closely instead of just glancing through all 5 lessons without really getting into them. So I limited myself to looking at 1 new lesson per day. For part 1, I decided to do the head, hair, and facial expressions because they're all centered above the neck. Then next episode, I'll be doing gesture and hands. Since I felt like it was most fundamental, and since it's the thing I need to work on the most at this point since I actually can't draw them at all, I started with the heads and faces lesson. Even just starting off, I feel like Cosmic Spectrum's art philosophy is really cool, and I'll quote a little bit from the first page of the lesson. In this tutorial, I will do my best to explain how I currently approach drawing faces. I spent a long time drawing without any concrete knowledge about structure, and I managed to get relatively far. But, as soon as I learned these essential things, the improvement of my artwork got exponentially faster, and the quality really solidified. Practice makes perfect is a bit of a lie when it comes to drawing. What makes a good artist is predominantly knowledge and observation. Practicing is important, but only when you have a clear goal and approach in mind. The concept of creativity is also often misinterpreted. Creativity spans from knowledge and observation just as much as anything else. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. So yeah, I thought that was super cool and really insightful since it comes from someone who has really skillful and beautiful art. In the second page, she goes into some tips about ear placement and also some mistakes that she herself made when she was first learning how to draw heads and faces. These were super relatable to me and really heartened me to the fact that even starting from where I am, I can improve. Then the next 2 pages demonstrate how she constructs the head and adds in the facial features. There's a lot of interesting information like the differences between male and female heads, but I also feel like it was missing a lot of information I would have liked to see, such as the effect that looking up versus looking down would have on the head and face, as well as the straight-on view and the profile view of the head. As it was, I only got a taste of the 3/4 view, and while it is a more challenging one, I was having a lot of trouble venturing out past exactly what she put into the tutorial. She finishes off the tutorial with some advice about how to study and learn art. Basically, be careful of which artists you study because if you are at a lower skill level, you won't be able to understand the areas where they are weak, and you might accidentally copy their mistakes. And also, most of art is problem solving and learning to translate anything from the real world into a stylized representation. Copying the answer manual that someone else has already solved won't work out those muscles properly, so it's important to get a mix of both. Overall, I really enjoyed this lesson. At first, I felt like it was too short, but it really got my creative juices and inspiration flowing, and I spent hours practicing and drawing every day because I wanted to unlock more secrets from this technique. For the first time in my entire life, I was drawing heads and faces without a reference in a way that I was actually happy with. I know it's not perfect, but this is an absolutely amazing development for me, if you've seen like my previous work. She recommends Andrew Loomis's Drawing the Head and Hands as the source of all her knowledge and says to go there for further learning, but this lesson really has helped me in a way that book hasn't in the past. I tried studying Loomis before, but it was so specific and confusing, and I was just too much of a beginner to really understand. I never drew a satisfying head studying that like I can with this. I'm definitely gonna go back to Loomis when I'm a bit more skilled and ready to accept his knowledge, but I feel like this lesson definitely hit me at the right time in my artistic development. Oh yeah, just as a side note, I've been using pages from the included pose book for my warm-ups. Second, I tried out the hair lesson. I feel like this one didn't live up to my expectations as much. Before the face and heads lesson, I was completely confused, and after, I could draw them a bit. However, I feel like the hair lesson was a bit too advanced for me. Instead of starting at the very beginning with simplifying hairstyles, she talks about ways to make them better, and goes through her process of sketching, refining, and rendering, as well as some tips for different hairlines, hair textures, styles, and variations. It all looks like great stuff, but I'm still stuck at the first step of figuring out where the hair goes or how it works in the first place. Trying to copy her example was like looking into a jumbled mess for me, and it was really confusing. It was really interesting, but it was a little bit confusing for me as a complete beginner to drawing hair. Although I feel like she would just tell me that the answer is to look at more hair and draw it, which, I mean, fair enough. And lastly, for this part, I went through the facial expression lesson, which I also felt wasn't as in-depth or beginner-friendly as I was really hoping for, but it did contain a lot of interesting information. She first goes through a few muscles that affect the facial expression and says that the jaw movement is really important in portraying a character's expression, and how like in anime, it's really iconic for not moving the jaw, but she likes to have a more anatomical art style. However, she only draws like a few examples of moving the jaw without really explaining how the jaw moves and how far it can really move and stuff like that, so I think I'm just more confused about how to actually apply this. Then the next section is on eyes and eyebrows and how they affect the expression. And she says that she'll cover them a little bit briefly here since she wants to make a full lesson later on about eyes, which I am low-key pumped for because I've been really enjoying her lessons so far. What she included here in this lesson is basically just a sheet of expressions and only the eyes and eyebrows to show how they can express so much. There were so many of them that I didn't have time to copy them all down and try to fit them onto a face in time for this video, but it's definitely something I want to go back and study because her eyes and eyebrows are just beautiful and expressive and I want to draw like her, what can I say? And then she talks about the mouth. I feel like this part also could have been more detailed. However, there's definitely enough to go on to start to copy and modify. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the quality of the lessons here, though I'm always left wanting more at the end, and I can't tell whether my expectations are too high or if I've just been spoiled with so much free material all over the internet. That's definitely been a recurring feeling as I've gone through these Gumroad tutorials so far. In the end, there's of course so much stuff available for free, but the most valuable thing a course can offer me at this point is inspiration and excitement, and these tutorials definitely gave me that. I was so excited to jump into drawing and hours would pass without me even noticing, and that was a great feeling. I feel like Cosmic Spectrum really understands what I want, which is to be able to draw from imagination without reference, and she encourages that by saying to draw a lot from imagination. Of course, study from life and reference and other artists as well, but there's no need to wait and learn everything about realism before diving in and experimenting, which was just really great and encouraging. I'm really excited to dive into the hands and gesture tutorials in part 2. I guess this video turned out super long anyway. Thanks for joining me on my Gumroad journey so far. I've been having a blast learning from all these different materials. Remember that talent is a myth. Now, get back to work.